So let's talk a little bit about what is this going to take up front to get up on Airbnb and to start making money on your space. If you want to do this correctly, it's going to take a little bit of time. How much time am I talking about? Is it going to take you 6 months? No, it's not going to take you 6 months. Is it going to take you a month? No, it's not going to take you a month. In order to get your listing up in a way that is going to solicit inquiries and solicit bookings, the way I look at it is, is it the same amount of time you'd spend on building an actual side business? No way. Is it about the same amount of time you'd spend on lunch today? No, it's going to be more than that. It depends largely on how big is your space. Do you have a lot of areas that you need to do photographs of? Photography is probably one of the biggest things. What tools do you have available? Do you already have a DSLR camera, an iPhone? What do you have? Are you good at writing a description of your place? Are you already familiar with Airbnb? That'll help because you don't have to spend very much time figuring out their website, figuring out how to set up the automatic text reminders and things like that. I think it's important to set your expectations, though. The more time you're going to spend on this, the more likely that you're going to have a good start. Let me tell you a little bit about what kind of a false start looks like. There is a distinct possibility that if you do not spend enough time on this, you just say, I don't want to spend 30 minutes on it. I'm going to take some photos with my iPhone, throw it up, and put a paragraph. Don't be surprised if no one asks about your space. There is a concept that I like to call the minimum assumption of quality. When you go to a hotel, to a chain, or maybe you're going to a place that you've never heard of before, maybe it's a local chain, there is a minimum assumption of quality because when you tack on the word hotel, you kind of have this assumption that in the worst case scenario, it's still going to be this good, right? It's still going to have a check-in desk, right? It's still going to have a bed. That minimum assumption of quality means that there's always going to be kind of a minimum floor that you're going to pay for a hotel because you always get the same basic bare necessities no matter what. Airbnb, on the other hand, is different. They do not have a minimum assumption of quality. How is this possible? When they started out, they were literally renting out couches. They were literally renting out airbeds. Airbed, Airbnb, that's kind of what the play on the name is. If you live in San Francisco, you can actually go and rent the CEO and founder's couch, and it costs $40 a night. That's how they started out. They started out as this convention overflow website for people who just wanted a space to sleep in. People do rent out futons. They do rent out airbeds. They do rent out just a spot on the floor. Those are on Airbnb. Those don't make up the majority of listings by any means, but people know that's the baggage you carry when you think of Airbnb and you go onto their website. So when I book a space, I don't automatically assume that I'm going to be sleeping in my own room, in my own bed, with my own things, and that whether or not the person's going to be available to meet me, or I don't have any assumptions. When you got to think about when you're listing your space, there's a certain bar to get over. Think about it from a hosting perspective. It's kind of crazy, right, that you can rent out a space in your apartment. We rent out our living room for $180 a night. That does seem crazy now that you're stopping and thinking about it and you're looking at that space. It's even crazier is the fact that you think someone would pay that amount of money if you just took some iPhone photos and put a paragraph description. You need to do a little bit more than that because, like I said, there is a minimum assumption of quality. If you don't have good photos, you don't have a good description, you don't put a little bit of time into this stuff, people are going to assume you're not really engaged in this process. They don't want someone who only has one foot in the door and the other foot's out the door. They don't want that. They don't want to show up and not know what to expect. There is a bar that you're going to have to jump over to get to your first booking, and I really don't want people to spend 30 minutes doing this, put it up, and say, hey, Evan, I didn't get any inquiries at all. You need to do a little bit more than that. You need to write a little bit more about your description. You need to do a little more thought. Are you going to spend 40 hours on this? No way. And part of this course is that I'm going to show you everything that I did and everything I know so that you can cut out 80% of the upfront costs and the upfront time into getting your listing up and starting to make money. When I first listed my space, I put a lot of time into it. I looked at design magazines. I looked at what all the people around me. I looked at all my competitors. I studied the hotels and what the offerings were and how they changed their prices. And I looked at every single space and I tried to design each space. And I went and I refurnished my entire apartment. And I did all sorts of things that were, in retrospect, I think were probably over the top to get your first inquiry, but I still implore you that you must put in a decent amount of effort in order to get your first inquiry. It's realistic to think that you put less effort up front and then as you slowly improve yourself, but here is the drawback. The biggest drawback to doing that kind of incremental, like, oh, every listing I get, I'll improve it and then keep going. The biggest drawback to that is when you first launch, your listing is not going to look its best. It's going to be the first version of it. You might have your first guest leave you a bad review if you did not take the time to think this through. If you get a bad review and it's your first bad review, that could be a game ender. That could actually be such a problem that when people are looking at this, they're going to say, hey, I don't want to book if there's only been one review and it's negative. I'm going to teach you in this course how to get around that, how to deal with negative reviews, how to get good reviews, and how to prevent people from saying things you don't want, how to avoid that swamp. I really want it to be something that you take, want it to be a point of pride when you do finally hit the listing button, and when people do finally come into your space, you are comfortable knowing that the quality is going to be high enough. Obviously, how do you know if the quality is high enough? Taking this course will definitely help you, and Sarah and I are going to walk you through what we have experienced and what we know as the minimum bar to getting up here and starting to make money. Think of the time and the effort you put up front like an investment. Think about how much this could potentially change the game for you, how it can change your financial situation, how it can open up a new way of connecting with your city that you didn't think about before. Consider what that's worth. And then kind of take that into consideration when you then go and put some effort into making your listing look good before you hit the button to make it public. Like I said, this is not going to be a colossal effort up front, but I think it's unrealistic to think that you're going to get it done in an hour. I also think that you're going to have some cost up front, but in the long run, it's so negligible. The way I used to think of it was, if I go and I purchase some extra things that might liven up my apartment or make it look good in photographs, how much are I really spending? Maybe I spend $100, maybe I spend $150, $200. What is that in terms of a rental? If that gets me an extra rental, well, then I broke even. And that's kind of the thing, is that you will break even very quickly if you do decide to spend some money up front. But anyway, don't be afraid. I don't think it's going to take as much effort as you think, but it should require some effort. If you're not doing anything, then you're doing something wrong. But anyway, throughout the course, we'll walk you through pretty much everything we know that will make you more likely to be successful and to make more money. Any questions, throw them in the group discussion, send me a private message. If you need help validating your space, or you want to have a better idea of saying, how long is this going to take me, we can definitely help you out.